What if I told you that we can provide you with a switch that if you flip this switch, it will absolutely be the game changer for your life and your marriage for as long as you both shall live? The testimony that you're giving to me is like clinically showing us that the mind and the soul can affect the body.
The emotional balance part, if nothing else, the emotional balance part of this is huge for me. I battled with depression for years. And this has been one of those things that I wish we would have thought of it sooner. Some of the listeners will understand, especially if you're women, we have a tendency to get wrapped up in being the wife or the mom, and we forget these other sides of who we are, or we don't pay as much attention to them.
And it's also true with us guys too, because we get wrapped up in being the provider of the household, or maybe in some cases the disciplinarian or whatever. But we don't always think of, well, how the heck is Quincy the man and then the husband? Because it's got to start with a healthier me in order to be more productive for you and for our family as well. But with the best intentions, you can talk about uncomfortable topics. You can say it ugly because you don't know how to say it.
Well, and it also gives you that preface to not take it personal.
So stick around because this matters. Number one, we don't always resolve everything there. And I'm telling you, there are some very heated discussions over these last almost 30 weeks. But what we do agree is that we'll pause or we'll park or we'll put a pin in something that we cannot come to an agreement on. But it still gives each of us the opportunity to have our say about things that are frustrating us.
But I'm also in a place where, I'm just not feeling the chaos that I used to feel. I don't feel the depression that I used to feel. It sneaks in here and there, but it doesn't get to stay long because now we're in a position where we call it.
Welcome back to another episode of Man vs. Marriage. It is I, Quincy Moran, a.k.a. the Q Dog, a.k.a. the Q Diggity Dog, in the Moran family studio with my wonderful, lovely, gorgeous hunk of a beautiful woman and wife, Jeannie Moran. Jeannie, the show is yours too. Say what you want to say.
You're working on some brownie points over there, huh?
Nope, I'm a carnivore. I don't eat brownies. Well, I guess a few times a year I do, but not on a regular basis. Anyway, what's up?
Not much.
That's a lie, but I know that's made for TV. So let's get right into this situation. What if I told you that we can provide you with a switch that if you flip this switch, it will absolutely be the game changer for your life and your marriage for as long as you both shall live? What would be the case? How would you feel about that? I'm asking you, the listener. Jeannie already knows. She's already getting that. So what does that mean? What does it look like? That's a question that we always ask on this program. And I want you to know that we are getting ready to talk to you about something not that we read in a book. We're going to talk to you about things that we've made plenty of mistakes on. But now that it is a part of our relationship for the better part of,
Probably going on like 6 months, isn't it?
I don't know.
March, April.
Okay, let's say it's in March.
It was right after your surgery that we started becoming more consistent.
That's true.
So it'd be March.
6 months. Game changer. Dynamically has changed our relationship, our connection, our ability to communicate. It has helped Jeannie, in her own words, balance her emotions. What did you say? Balancing
emotional balance and some physical stuff too.
Given her emotional balance, it's given her even somehow supernaturally relief in her physical body. It is a crazy situation, but we're here to talk to you about it, and we're going to wrap it in this episode. So let's talk about what this is. I'm going to tell you, this is what we call the check-in. And the check-in for us, we've had so many different iterations of what it was. And we started this with the one marriage conference.
Mm-hmm.
Tony and Alicia, they do great work. All kinds of different types of work. And we went to a conference called Dream Again. Mm-hmm. And so this is where they talk to us about coffee talk. Their relationship is slightly different, where they grade each other every week. And Jeannie and I, we started that, and then it got kind of ugly. But what were you going to say?
So thinking back to the coffee talk and their marriage, there's some different dynamics here. First of all, they work together. Their one marriage is their job. So they have, their coffee talk consists of business and work. It consists of family and children, and it consists of their marriage. And then they collectively put it all together and they grade themselves on how they're doing. For Quincy and I, grading has never been a good thing for us. For one, we don't think the same. And so for us, it kind of, I think it made an insecurity going back and forth with the grading, because we didn't want to hurt the other person. And at the same time, we didn't know how to grade appropriately. So we kind of took that out of the system. But also, we took their plan and we adjusted it to our lifestyle, because I work at home. I didn't work for a long time outside of taking care of children, which is in and of itself a job. But it's not the same as Quincy getting up and going to work every day for 14 hours or more, and then traveling and things of that nature. So it's a little different for us, because we don't have the job perspective on how that related in our relationship, because we don't work together outside of the podcast. So we put that side kind of towards the end. We still talk about it, but it's not the same dynamic of what they discuss.
And that's true. But the fact is we made our own version and it failed.
The first one did, yeah.
And then we made another version, and I don't remember what the name of that was, but we just really started to call it the check-in instead of the coffee talk. We still involved the calendar and things of that nature in there.
I think we took and we made the coffee talk into the calendar talk, and then we slowly split the calendar talk and the check-in and made them two different things. We do still discuss the calendar in a check-in, but the calendar talk is a completely separate entity now.
Yeah, it's different. What is that racket?
That was me. Sorry.
Leave the microphone alone.
It wasn't the microphone.
I don't know what it was, but stop it. Anyway.
It was a fidget spinner. Sorry.
Oh, geez.
I bumped the microphone.
Yeah. So with that, each version that we tried to do, they failed. And what we noticed over time is that when we were doing the check-in, even though it wasn't a great check-in, we would have the opportunity to discuss some of these issues or situations going on in our relationship. The thing is that because we weren't consistent, then time would get in between us. We would stop using some of the tools that we teach you to use, which we're guilty of transparently. And then it would turn into a big problem. And so then we'd have to come back together. We'd have to schedule time. We'd have to talk about it. And so the next thing you know, fast forward, I had my knee replaced in early 2025, and that was in February. So then we did start having check-ins again. And we had gone through this process, which is like, okay, I see where we screwed up this time again, and it's because we didn't do our check-in. Here's the facts as I see them. The check-ins just didn't have the value to continue. The value wasn't there, so we didn't sacrifice to do it because it was good, and then we prioritized other things. But what you value, you prioritize. What you value, you do consistently. And so we were sitting down. I think we had some kind of challenge in front of us.
We had an argument.
And we were sitting down to do another check-in. And I think that situation had happened the week before, but we committed to do the check-in another, do it every week. And so we were getting together to do the check-in. In a minute, I'll have Jeannie give you her testimony about what has made such a difference. Now, as we were getting together to talk about, before it's like, well, okay, so how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm a little frustrated, but I'm doing okay. And then we would talk about the beef we had with each other. That's not what the check-in is for. You can handle the beef there. But as I started to get a notebook, I'm like, I need to make some notes about what's going on. Because, I was in recovery from that knee replacement. And as I grabbed the notebook, I just felt a download from the Holy Spirit. And it's like, here's what I want you to ask. And so I just started talking to Jeannie about it. I'm like, well, instead of just doing X, Y, or Z, I'm paraphrasing now, but I want to know how Jeannie, the woman, is. I want to know how Jeannie, the wife, is. And so I went down every aspect of this, and it sort of grew from there because there are many facets to who we are as a person. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is if you keep it generalized and you're not getting specific, more than likely, you're going to go with what is on your mind at the moment. And that doesn't benefit you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jeannie to talk through what has made the check-in so game changer for her. I'm going to ask her to talk about some of the benefits that she has found in this check-in. And then we're going to wrap this episode up by giving you the full outline of what the check-in looks like. And we'll talk through why being granular matters so much. So, honey, I'm going to hand it over to you. Go ahead and give it your best go of talking about the check-in, what it's been, and even things that you heard from the chiropractor.
Well, so the check-in for me, the reason that I think it's so different and has such a different effect is because normally when you're married, you have kids, your life is moving along. When you check in with each other, it's, hey, how are you doing? I'm good. You're good. Or, oh, I'm kind of frustrated, what have you. But when we started asking these specific questions, for one, I'm not just Jeannie, your wife, who you're checking in on to see if I'm okay. And I'm not just in the business conversation of what goes on in the household. You were actually asking questions about the different aspects of who I am, which some of the listeners will understand, especially if you're women. We have a tendency to get wrapped up in being the wife or the mom, and we forget these other sides of who we are, or we don't pay as much attention to them simply because either we've lost them, they're not as prominent or as important because now we're in these roles and these are the most important thing, or you just don't pay attention to it. You might be going through some things and you just it goes under the wayside because I've got this other stuff in front of me.
I think I know that's true. And it's also true with us guys too, because we get wrapped up in being the provider of the household, or maybe in some cases the disciplinarian or whatever. But we don't always think of, well, how the heck is Quincy the man
Mm-hmm.
and then the husband, because it's got to start with a healthier me in order to be more productive for you and for our family as well.
That's what I'm saying. When we started with the way that we changed all this, and we've added to it over the last couple of months to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we need to touch on this because, for example, both of our parents are getting up there in years. Excuse me, my throat's drying out. And we've had some health scares and things like that. So now we're at the place where, sorry, my throat's getting dry. We had to start looking at, like, my mom had a health scare. I can talk about it now because it's out in the open and she's past the scary part. But my mom went through breast cancer, and we had to start looking at things that we hadn't considered in a while, because you don't want to think about your parents passing away. You don't want to think about, who's going to take care of whom when we have siblings. It's like, okay, if something happens, who's doing what? We didn't want to look at those things. But that was something we had to add into the check-in, because how is Jeannie the daughter? How is Quincy the son? Because we're going to, at some point, face some things as our parents eventually transition on. And we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. Am I calling them enough? Am I checking in on them enough? Are we making plans to go visit? Are we making sure that if there's a need of theirs, if we can meet it? Are we making sure that we're asking, that we're filling in gaps? I mean, we went on a vacation, and the first thing we said was, what needs to be done to winterize the house? What can we help with? Because they were not capable at the time. And so to other people, vacation became work, but it wasn't really, because we went with the intention of taking care of them. But we hadn't talked about those things. For me personally, the biggest side of this is, this came in to the biggest impact when our youngest went to college. That's when I started noticing this is a huge help for me, because we aren't empty nesters by any means. We still have several living at home, but we've had one that moved out years ago or 2 years ago, and it wasn't the best of situation. So it was a little different reaction and feeling when she moved out, and then when she came home, and we fixed things, but it was she left and then she came back. Our youngest leaving, she's out on her own, and it's very difficult for me, because my position has changed from being the one who, like, goes before you and helps set the path and get the classes handled and makes the doctor's appointments and does all of these things. Now she's on the adult path, and she's out of the home doing it for herself. So it feels weird.
Yep.
It feels very weird. So that was a really hard place for me. And I'm glad she did the summer course that she did, because it gave me more time to adjust, rather than the straight cold cutoff of not being able to see her for months at a time. It gave us the opportunity. I went down to see her a couple of times. Like, she went down the first week, she was gone for 2 nights, and then she came back for 4th of July weekend for 3 days. And then she's gone again. And I went to go see her 2 weeks later, because she had an open weekend. And at the time they were allowed to have visitors. So I could take her sisters down and help her find a dress and things that she had going on. So it kind of gave us like a trial run of not being around her.
Yeah, I do think it was helpful for you, and there's more to come at the beginning of next year. So,
but it's also doing the check-in side of things. Quincy and I were talking about, how's Jeannie the mom, and I got to just come out and say, okay, I'm struggling with this. I'm enjoying this side of things. I'm happy about this and that, but this part is really hard for me, and I need you to just kind of bear with me while I go through it, because it gave us the platform to say, I am not intentionally trying to be snippy with people. I am not intentionally trying to get frustrated about little things, but this is where I'm at emotionally. So if these things start showing their ugly head, please check me.
Yep.
Because I don't want to hurt anybody else in the house just because I'm trying to process through something. That was one of the biggest things, I think. The other side of this, and some people might disagree with me, and that's fine. in my family, the women tend to start perimenopause early, like 30 to 35 is when they start noticing they become more emotional. The hormones go out of whack. I think both my mom and my sister had to start treatment stuff like by 35 ish. The depression became a problem. All of these things. And they're not the only ones. I know that my grandmother and my great grandmother had similar issues. But for me, one, I don't take medication. I have Hunter and Kirsten. So the 2 times that doctors have said, "Hey, we can give you this to help manage your emotions or to help manage your stress or your anxiety," I've never taken them because I think I took the one time we took it like for 2 days, and by the end of the second day, I have to be functional. You can take care of the emotions, but I need to be functional. And I couldn't have both. Having the check-ins though, now that we're talking through the things that we're both processing through, having the conversations. And this is not a topic that a lot of people like to talk about, but I do know that my body is changing. I do know that we're coming into some different things physically. I don't really feel the emotional chaos that I used to because I think we've been working through a lot of it. But we've had those conversations about, look, my body is changing. I know that it's changing. I've got these things that are happening physically. It could affect our sex life. We've had to have these conversations so that as these things come up, it's not, okay, well, I'm just not in the mood anymore. My libido's gone. You're just going to have to deal with your own whatever. Or, shutting it down from when you're used to 3, 4, 5 times a week, coming down to like 1 time a week and then slowly down to 1 time a month or, special occasions. That's not how we have our relationship. We've agreed to, one, we both enjoy that connection. It's something that's very important to both of us. So we started talking about it. And when I start having, issues, or if I start feeling a certain way, we discuss it and we work through what arrangements do we need to make? Do we need to postpone for a day or two? Do we need to maybe have a getaway so that we can focus on just the intimate side of the relationship? It just makes a huge difference for me. But I'm also in a place where, I'm just not feeling the chaos that I used to feel. I don't feel the depression that I used to feel. It sneaks in here and there, but it doesn't get to stay long because now we're in a position where we call it. You know what I mean?
Of course, I know what you mean. And, truly, it is, it's something that forces you to look more deeply at yourself from the various aspects, because you may not realize there are so many different pieces to you, the human being. And I want to say versions, but that's not really the case. There's so many different categories that make up you.
Mhm.
And maybe the reason that it works so well for us is because, one of your love languages is quality time, but I can't help but think, actually, I firmly believe that now with this version of the check-in, it has extreme value. And that is why we continue to do it. And I would say out of, what is it? 30, like 6 months is how many weeks? That's 24 weeks. So probably 24 weeks or a little bit more. We missed one by a day, and we took responsibility for it. We had a great streak going. We let vacation get in the way, and we did it on a Sunday instead of a Saturday, which is a fail, period, to our standard. But not only did we do it on Sunday, we did it again that same week. And so the thing is that these talks are not always pleasant. They don't always feel supportive. We actually air some pretty
Well, that's what I was going to say.
We air some pretty serious grievances to one another.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So when we do the check-in and we cover, so we go through, I'll use mine, Jeannie the woman.
I'm going to put it up here in just a minute. So
Jeannie
I'll
the
show
wife, Jeannie the mom, Jeannie the daughter, Jeannie the friend, Jeannie the professional, and then is there anything open? And we go over our faith and our health and all that too. But here's the part that I think makes this such a good deal is, sometimes when you've got stuff going on and maybe I'm hurt because the kids and I, maybe when me and the kids got into a little spat and something they said dug a little bit. But I'm going to wash it because I'm going to keep going through my week and I'm going to, it's fine. We'll deal with it later. It's not a big deal. We'll keep doing whatever. But when you call me from work and there's an edge to your voice or you've got something going on, that hurt comes back up and it becomes a little snipe between the two of us. It's not your fault. It has nothing to do with you. I'm disappointed and I'm hurt from something else, but it comes up. When we do the check-ins and we go over these individual parts, that's when we say, okay, I had an argument with this person. This is what was said. This is what happened. This is how I felt about it. And it kind of comes to the surface. Or it might be, he's going to mention, you were kind of snippy with me and I'm not really sure what happened. We never really talked about it. Can you tell me, because I don't think I did anything. Can you tell me what was going on? It uncovers each individual thing for the week. And it gives you a chance to go back and go, that wasn't you, but you got the brunt of it. So that's on me.
Correct.
But it gives us the chance to fix it quickly. It doesn't go on for 2 or 3 weeks where we're stacking stuff on top of each other and we get it out. Normally, I would say, yes, we would address it immediately the day that it happened. That doesn't always happen, especially if you're on the road. But in the check-ins, you can't get away from it because it's part of the check-in. You have to go back and think on what happened. And when we start talking through things, we catch it with the other one and go, hey, wait, was that on this day? Was that what you're talking about? That happened on this day? And it's like, oh, well, yeah. Okay. That makes sense because when we talked, you did X, Y, Z. And I was starting to wonder, did I do something? I started going back in my thought process. Did I say something? Do we have it?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't say anything at the time because I was thinking, if you're going through something, I'm going to give you a minute to kind of go through it. And then usually you'll come to me, but you didn't come to me. So here it is in the check-in. Now, here again, this shows a fail because we've agreed when something happens, we say something. But again, that's what the check-in is for. This is where we catch the parts that we've made mistakes on and say, okay, hold on, back up. We need to reset. We should have used this tool. We didn't. We should have said X, Y, Z. We didn't. Okay, so this is where we're at. This is what happened. This is how we fix it. This is how we go forward.
Mm-hmm.
But all it's doing is it's airing everything and it's cleaning the slate. So as we go into the next week, it's a clean slate.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing lingering or hanging over.
Well, I mean, there are times. There's 2 things I want to cover here real quick before we give you the list. So stick around because this matters. Number 1, we don't always resolve everything there. And I'm telling you, there are some very heated discussions over these last almost 30 weeks. But what we do agree is that we'll pause or we'll park or we'll put a pin in something that we cannot come to an agreement on. But it still gives each of us the opportunity to have our say about things that are frustrating us.
How's it going, Man vs. Marriage Nation? It's me, the Q Dog, coming to you for a request. I don't think I've ever made this request before in the lifetime of the program, but we have a family friend who has lost a mother, a grandma, and a great-grandma, and his family's on very difficult times. So I ask you to join me in supporting the Bangs family as they take care of the funeral expenses and the travel to get this wonderful woman from Nevada to California and get her laid to rest next to her husband. So right after this video, there's going to be a QR code for a GoFundMe and in the show notes. So please help us do our part for this wonderful family. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Well, and then it gives you the whole week to kind of percolate over what was said and think about the other person's perspective. And you kind of, sometimes we can go through the second week and be like, okay, I thought about what you said. We've talked about it a little bit more. This is where we're at. Sometimes it's something that has to go a little while longer, but at least you don't feel like you don't get a say.
Yeah. And there are topics in your relationship, there are topics in your marriage that are uncomfortable to talk about. And, one of the tools that Jeannie and I have developed, thanks to my Southern upbringing, is a tool called Say It Ugly. And then it gives you the opportunity to say it. You get a mulligan, you get to talk through something that is not comfortable, and then you get a chance to clean it up if it's not what you meant. There are a few examples I could give you, and maybe someday I will, unless I decide to give it to you now. Here's the second piece of that. The second, you know what? Let me go ahead and just for a moment talk about Say It Ugly and clean it up. Jeannie and I had a rub, and not a good rub, when it came to our sex life. And neither one of us realized that there was a rub. Quit messing with that
Sorry, I didn't.
stinking thing, woman.
Sorry.
You can hear it over here. And so can people around the planet now. We didn't realize that we had this hidden beef between each other because she had some sort of an issue with sex when it came to me wanting it as opposed to needing her for it. And I had a beef with her because I couldn't get my head wrapped around the idea that I'd want to be needed for something rather than wanted. Because in my mind, I want to be wanted. And so it was a deeper issue. But with that being said, we talked through it, and it was uncomfortable to talk about, but we still had the ability to talk through it. This is before the check-in, but we started to understand with Say It Ugly, Clean It Up, that you can say things that make you uncomfortable to your spouse. Caveat, it has to be respectful. I'm not talking about cussing your spouse out and saying, oh, I'm sorry, I said that ugly. Let me clean that up a little bit. But with the best intentions, you can talk about uncomfortable topics. You can say it ugly because you don't know how to say it.
Well, and it also gives you that preface to not take it personal. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to hurt you. I'm not saying this to, take a dig. I genuinely don't know how you're going to take this. So I'm just going to say it. And then you'll repeat to me what you heard, and let's see if we can get this right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
it disarms the other person is what it does.
It actually just allows you both to let your guard down. And that's what you want. And, in the moment, you're not going to judge each other for your insecurities. You're just going to say what you want to say and know that you'll have an opportunity to clean it up without your spouse taking it personal, like Jeannie said, and holding it against you. So that's number one. Number two, in times past, for years and years and years in our relationship, if Jeannie and I had a dust up and we were frustrated with each other, we would typically go to bed without sex. And we could have had great sex last night, and we're planning on it again tonight, and we get in some kind of an argument of some sort, and then we're not connecting like we both want to. Hidden resentment, frustration, anger, who knows what the number of things that we could come up with to hold against each other in those moments. More than one time now, we can talk about extremely difficult stuff. We can put it in the parking lot or pin it. We can go on with the rest of our check-in. And I'll speak for myself. I feel lighter. Like I feel lighter and more connected with her. And even though we've had some very tough discussions, we are still good to do what we set out to do, which is to have, our intimate time together. Mm-hmm. And that has been game changer for us because that has been a challenge in the past. As much as we both want, need, and enjoy sex, we would let some of these things get in the way that would hamper our connection. And this has changed that. For me, it's changed it altogether. You
Yeah.
talk about you, because
No, it has, because it's even to the point where if there was a heated conversation and we're not sure if we're on level ground yet, we'll ask the other person, okay, I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, like I don't feel what's going on, but are we still okay with our plans? Do we need to fix this more? Are we okay?
yeah,
You know, it's and really, and I know some people are like, "Oh hell no! If I was mad, I wouldn't do that." And you have that right, but for us, and if I said no, you know what? I'm still feeling raw about this. I don't know. At least we had that conversation to let Quincy know. I don't know. I'm still raw about this. I don't know.
yeah,
But rather than just shutting it down and being, I mean, that's not even a rain check. That's a
yeah. The rain check is
completely different.
is something different. And in times past, we would both think for each other, and then we would both leave it silently within our own mind, and then we would allow resentment to build up, or we would not manage disappointment well. And so it would affect how we treat one another. And now that has changed.
But even in this, if we have a heated conversation, or we some of our check-ins have been 4 hours long,
That's true.
just because we've had a lot going on, and we don't like to let things just sit.
Yeah.
So if our check-in goes, 3, 4, 5 hours long, and it's a hard conversation, and it's, are we still okay to do this? This is where, if one of us says, you know what, honestly, I'm really tired, I'm emotionally drained at the moment, I'm not mad at you, but I need to pull a rain check tonight because I need to sleep on this, and
Yeah.
I need to just give myself a minute to reset. But tomorrow we'll revisit and we can put it back on the schedule. That's a whole lot easier to handle than
Yeah,
no.
that shouts, I care about you. I know what you want.
Acknowledge it.
What you want matters. I'm considering you, but right now, physically or emotionally, I just can't do it. And we've both in the past, there are times,
We're
me
just
less,
exhausted.
me less than her, but there are times where it's like, I just need a rain check. And look, you can be extremely disappointed. You can allow that disappointment, even though you have communicated, you can allow that disappointment to affect your attitude. But it's important for us to learn as adults, even important for our children to learn, how do you digest disappointment and keep moving along? And so that happens. There are times where she will pull a rain check, and I'll say, whew, I'm glad she pulled a rain check, because I really want your body, but your boy is down. He is down and out. So let's give you a picture of what this looks like. I will intend on getting an actual form for you if you want it. Email me, Quincy@mvsmpodcast.com. Probably be easy enough if you're watching the program just to look at it. But I'm going to put this up here for you right now, and I'm going to walk through this with you. Okay? So this is it in its entirety. And if you need to take this and evolve, and the questions need to evolve, great. But this is where we're at. Hopefully I didn't forget anything. Jeannie, you can check me if I did. Here it is. There's on top, there's a for her. On bottom, there's a for him. Hey, baby. So question number 1, how are you the woman? And then 1A and 1B. These are vital to me. I asked Jeannie, how is your faith? How is your health? Because I want to know, and those are very personal to her as the woman. So that's why I'm asking about those questions together with how are you the woman? The next thing is how are you the wife? How are you the mother? How are you the child? Because she's still somebody's child, like she talked about earlier. How are you the friend? And I think that's important, because there might be times in your life where your friendships become a challenge. Your friend might be going through something. you might be going through something, and there can be adversity in your relationships. So you need a platform, or you need a place to talk through it with someone you trust. And Jeannie and I do trust each other, and we talk about our friendships here in this place and what's going on, and we will ask each other for perspective or for advice. True?
True.
True. And then the next thing is, how are you the professional? Because we want to know, we want each other to think deeply about each aspect of what makes up me. And the very last thing is open items. What else is out there that we haven't resolved?
The other part that you missed, which it's a question that we do with the how are you the wife or how are you the husband, is how are we with our intimacy? How are
I sure did.
That's a very specific question under that umbrella.
Dang it, Q Dog.
Because and we can discuss this because this is current to us, is we have a lot of adult children in the house. We have a lot of people in the house at various times. We have kids who work late at night, that come home late at night. They want their hugs. They want to say goodnight. They want to see dad because sometimes he's gone. So we have had to maneuver our intimate life around making sure that our kids still get the attention and the affection that they need. So when we had these conversations, we came to find,
thank you for that. I forgot.
We need to make arrangements where, like, once a month or whatever, however we can work it in our schedule. Even if it's a staycation, we need to go somewhere, just the two of us, where we can go do what we do and not worry about kids knocking on the door, not worry about autism keeping us awake, not worry about anybody else. We make it a date night, and we just spend time. Or that's when we plan and say, okay, we're going to go. For example, our anniversary is in November. We're going to go to a game in Alabama, and we're going to be gone for, 4 days. We have family going with us. They're going to stay at another family's house. They invited us. I said, no, we get in a hotel.
That's right.
And everybody laughed because they know what that means. But so do we. And that's important. Right. But it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, and this is going to probably be TMI, but it's also where we talk about, how was the last connection? How were things this week? Did we need to maybe up the game in this area or that area? Do we need to, is it time to bring the toys back into the things? Is it time to start looking at, do you want me to wear lingerie this time? Do we just want to 10 minutes quick because we know what this week brings? It also gives us the opportunity to say, look, this week, Quincy's going to be gone Monday night. He's not coming home until late Friday night. So we are going to have zero intimacy except for the weekend, which means both of us now know Friday, Saturday, Sunday, plan for time for us, because we're going to need that. We're going to need to reconnect before we start the next week. And I know this all sounds like we're getting very in depth, but that's the point.
It is the point. And let me say this too. I thought when we had adult children, our sex life was going to get better.
Well, most people's adult children leave home. Our adult children are still here for a while, which is fine. I'm okay with it.
Look, I like my kids, and I love my kids, but I like them too. And so I'm happy for them to stay here. They're all contributors. I'm happy for them to stay here until they, especially with girls. My goal, and it's not theirs, might not be yours. My goal would be to hand them off to their husband, and then, but some of them want to live on their own and see what that's all about. But the truth is that right now we're in a place where our sex life is suffering because we're dodging the clock. And if autism is awake, how much can you really get into it? I mean, the mechanics are there, they're working. But when you hear somebody that is not your spouse, who you are engaging in sexual activity with, calling your name or kicking the door or interrupting you, it gets difficult. And there are places around the bedroom that we would like to have sex, not just the bed. But how can you do that when autism walks downstairs and says, "Why is the TV off?" and or your beloved children are supposed to be on their way home. They work late, and you're going, okay, it's already midnight. How late are they going to be here? We want to make sure that we give them the affection they're looking for.
But I want the affection I'm looking for.
That's right. The runway for us to see them as often, the runway just keeps getting shorter because eventually they're going to move out and they're going to have their own life. And so for us, it's like it's at the point of the day when we are the most tired. So physically, we're not getting the best of each other. The great news is orgasms are still there. They're still happening, which is great news. But beyond the orgasm, there's a certain level of passion and connection that we both desire. And every once in a while, we have more than 15 minutes to get that. But at the same token, it's like, how much can I give? So then we get into a routine. And while part of the routine, I'm good with 7 days a week, your wife needs more. We need more.
Well, you get to the place where you can't do individual attention.
Sure.
The way that you would. Like if we go out to a hockey game and we go stay in a hotel, we're going to have a couple of drinks, or I'm going to have a couple of drinks. We're going to relax. We're going to be in a completely different environment. I don't have to be mom. I don't have to be wife. Technically, I'm just Jeannie and Quincy having a good time. I have no responsibilities.
That's right.
Except to have fun. That's it.
Yeah.
So it gives us more time to individually, I get, long baths, take a shower, spend time together. We'll lay in the bed and watch a movie and not worry about interruptions. Those things, as simple as they sound in a day-to-day, are not in our household.
They're great. And the last time we were at a hotel, we just put on Netflix with comedians. Shane Gillis got a little more than I could handle, so we changed comedians. But we just
had a good time. We just laughed.
Yeah, we did body massages, which is great. The nightcap was also great because we got our sex time in, and we need that connection. And that's what helps whenever we do go away. I mean, I was the first one to say, "Hey, we could stay at Dad's," and she's like, "Our anniversary? No." And I said, "No, we're not. No, we can't stay at Dad's. We gotta go to a hotel." So that's I want to wrap this episode up.
You missed one aspect to this.
Yeah, and it's, are you getting enough sex?
No.
That is part of the aspect.
That wasn't what I was talking about, but yes.
Oh, okay. Along with, how's your faith? How's your health? How is your intimacy? Are you getting the connection that you need? And it's uncomfortable to talk about if the answer is not what you want to hear, but you both know when the connection is not the same, because it's like, that was really good, but I know we're still missing a little something.
That's also your place to, are your needs being met? Am I doing what you need right now in the moment of life that you're in?
Yep.
Using the example again of you in work situations, losing 2 colleagues, just the Charlie Kirk, just all the things going on at one time.
Yep.
Quincy took an emotional hit that was unusual for you. And for me on my side, I did what I knew to do to help him when he got home, but I didn't know, is that what you need? Is that enough of what you need? What else can I do? So that's the other part of the wife and husband, where am I meeting your needs? If there's something coming up in the following week, or we know something is there something else you need me to do so that I can prepare and I can be in the mindset of what needs to happen? Is there something we need at home that you're going to, it's just another side to the conversation to add into the piece. And the other side of this that we didn't touch on that Quincy kind of did is the testimony side, is having these conversations, although they can be stressful and they can get heated, it has physically lowered my stress level enough to where the chiropractor is actually seeing results, in the point to where I'm not seeing him maybe once a month now. And I was seeing him pretty consistently.
Yeah.
And he asked us, he's like, what are you doing different? And I couldn't really think. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not working out. I'm not because he asked me to stop doing free weights, so I stopped doing that. He asked me, did you change your diet? Did you change anything? I was like, I added the vitamin B supplement you asked me to, and my husband and I are talking. That's what it is. It lowers my stress level to get all of this off my plate, and I'm not carrying it all by myself all the time.
That's right.
So it does have other attributes. There are still some things that I'm working through from, the going into the menopause side of life, but it brings it to the forefront. So it's not something that sneaks up on me. It's not something where it's like, oh my God, one day I was great and then all of a sudden I felt like crap. I'm noticing more because we're asking the questions. How are you feeling? How are you doing? Do you need anything? Are you making changes? If we are making changes, we mention it in the check-in. How's your health? Quincy will tell me, okay, I'm in this phase of my plan. I'm going to make this adjustment and this change. It's not just for me to know like the meals and things like that. It's also for me to know and to pay attention. He's going to make a shift. So there might be a little bit of an edge to his personality. There may be, some back and forth because he's going to get pissed off at himself if he slips up.
Yeah.
It's just keeping each other on the same page.
Yeah, I totally agree. And in true fashion for Quincy Moran, it's not good enough to just be on the same page. You need to be in the same book. So, that the testimony that you're giving to me is like clinically showing us that the mind and the soul can affect the body.
The emotional balance part, if nothing else, the emotional balance part of this is huge for me.
So if you go ahead, honey.
I battled with depression for years. And this has been one of those things that I wish we would have thought of it sooner, because this is probably the best I felt in a really long time emotionally.
My goodness. That is
That's big
amazing.
For me. That's very big for me.
That's amazing. That is the whole show. That is what this is about. And let me tell you how cool God is. I believe with my heart that he downloaded this to me in order to connect with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then since we were dumb for so long, this has proof positive that this is game changer. And so now we can bring it to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to put together like a webinar so we can get on and answer questions and talk about it, because I think I know this will change the lives of other people.
When we get to the point of being able to do in-person meetings and things of that nature, this will be one of the sessions that we do where we want you to have a check-in. We want you to get on the same page in the same book. So as we go through what we're going to teach you and the tools, it's kind of like when you go to the doctor. We have kids who have shunts, and once a year you're supposed to have a CAT scan done to see what's your baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And then we leave it alone. Unless there's an issue, we leave it alone. Your baseline is here. There's no problems. So when there is a problem, we have a baseline to go back to and go, oh, okay, yep, there's something's different here. It's the same concept. When we did the one marriage, that's what it was. It was, you're going to check these things in a coffee talk, get a baseline. And then from that, we're going to start going on each topic of, okay, we talked about this and we found this hiccup. Now we know we need to work on this hiccup. What is this? Well, how do we fix this? What do we do with it?
Yeah. And let me encourage you, okay? With what we are teaching you today, when you begin this, it's important that you know this is going to build a deeper connection with your spouse. This is going to build deeper intimacy. It's going to build deeper trust. It's going to build deeper communication. It's going to build a stronger bond. It's going to build your confidence in one another and in your relationship. And that, my friends, is absolute game changer. That is going to change the way that you love and connect with one another for as long as you both shall live. I want to show you this episode that Jeannie's talking about just real quickly, where I did take a hit emotionally and I didn't realize it. It's episode 361. You can find it at quincymoran.com under the Man versus Marriage. and it's called Life in Overload. And it's one of those things where we have committed to bring you our journey. And that is exactly what it is that we're doing. And this is going to change your life dramatically. So I am thankful that we have learned. I'm thankful for all the failures that led up to what the check-in is now. And let me leave you with this. If you heard Jeannie say, some of them have gone 4 and 5 hours, and you say, I don't have the time to do a 4 or 5 hour check-in. I'm busy. I'll say, let me challenge you and say, you don't have the time not to do it.
Those were some of those conversations just for content purposes. Is my mom had cancer. We had just found out my mom had cancer. And the phone call I got was the same day that our daughter was leaving for college.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the call that said, I'm starting treatment at the same day. So the length of the conversation was because I needed that. I needed to let all the air out of the balloon. And then we needed to decide, what are we doing? What is our place? So that it's not about, oh my God, they're going to be long-winded and we're going to go through all this and we're going to have to talk about all these complaints and airing the grievances. No, sometimes it's just, we need to just let the air out, and that's the safe place. That conversation gives us the ability to say, okay, this is designated time. Quincy and I have an appointment every Friday, designated time, unless we make an arrangements for a Saturday. We have designated time. Then the kids know, mom and dad are having a check-in. Leave us alone. This is our time to talk. And they do, for the most part, unless there's a major issue with autism, they leave us be. But you also have that to look forward to know, I have that time. Like maybe we touch on it on Tuesday, but we really just don't have the time to get into it. On Friday night, I know we're going to have a real conversation.
I agree. And if you're going to tell me, look, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm your coach. Restrictions apply, but I'm your coach. And I'm giving you my opinions, so we're not legally bound together. But as your coach, if you're here telling me that you don't have the time to do this check-in, I'm calling BS on you. BS stands for?
Bullshit.
Yep, it does. That didn't come out of my mouth, but it's true. And if you want me to give you a test case, why don't you hop on your telephone if you're an iPhone user and look at your screen time and tell me how much time you waste on social media. Don't you say for 1 second that you're wasting time on this podcast, because I won't have it. Mm-hmm. But there is time. And like Tony Robbins taught me, he taught me in a book, the pain of not doing it is so much more than the pain of doing it, because the pain of not doing it catches up to you in your future. And then you are filled with regret, and you don't want to live your life that way. So I encourage you to get this done. And I hope by the time this is out, I will have a document for you to download, and you'll be able to take this to your relationship and start doing this right away. Share this episode with your spouse. And hey, bro, share the episode with everyone you know. Honey, any final thoughts?
No, I think we covered all of it.
We did it. Yay us.
I would say this, if y'all go through this and you do come up with some other caveats or some other questions that you think are beneficial, please let Quincy know, and we'll take it into consideration and see what it does.
Yeah. If you want to email me, look in the show notes, or email Quincy at mvsmpodcast.com. I would love your feedback. Be excellent to hear from you. Thank you to those who are around the world using the email address. It's pretty amazing. But we're here for you. And for Jeannie Moran, I'm Quincy Moran, a.k.a. the Q Dog, a.k.a. the Q Diggity Dog. And this is Man vs. Marriage, the podcast.